Welcome to the second part of our recap series for the popular show Spy X Family, a show consisting of shenanigans of a spy and his mission to adopt a family and ultimately achieve his target. Previously, Anya had gotten into a fight with Desmond, the very boy she was supposed to befriend in order to complete the mission. The next day, as Anya heads to school, Loid reminds her that she must apologize to Damien at any cost for what she had done. Anya promises to do as her father asks, but Loid doubts whether his daughter is capable of doing so. Therefore, the spy heads to the school to ensure that Anya apologizes. Throughout the day, Anya gets several chances to apologize, but each time Becky prevents her from talking to Damien. Having grown close to Anya, Becky doesn't want her to stoop to the level of her bullies. Loid watches them and is frustrated by Becky ruining his plans. So, Loid disguises himself as a waiter and ensures that Becky is separated from Anya just long enough for her to apologize. Damien, who seems to have developed a crush on Anya, can't bear to be around her and suppresses his feelings, not wanting to be involved with a lower-ranking student. He runs away, leaving Loid horrified as he sees his main plan go to waste before his eyes. He believes that now all hope is lost for Anya to become Damien's friend. Back at home, after Anya arrives, Loid starts pushing her to study, seeing it as the only remaining way to earn the Stellas and access the meetings. However, his teaching methods only serve to stress the little girl. Yor, wanting to be helpful, tells Loid that it takes time for young children to learn certain things. Loid agrees that he was a little too harsh. As he puts his daughter to sleep, Loid wonders what kind of father he would be to his actual family. The next day brought sudden news that Yor's brother, Yuri Breyer, was going to visit them. For so long, Yor had described him as a sweet, kind boy and had always felt guilty about hiding her assassin job from him. However, Yor wasn't the only one keeping secrets. Yuri had never told his sister about his work in the state security services. As a second lieutenant, he was involved in interrogating spies from other countries, and his style of interrogation resembled his sister's assassin nature. While interrogating a suspect, he came to know about Twilight, and now it was his mission to find Twilight. Yor quickly notifies the family of her brother's impending visit, prompting them to make the house appear more like a couple's home. Yor moves to Loid's room, and they even get matching toothbrushes. The bed they are procuring looks like it's meant for a honeymoon. The forgers ensure there's no trace of their fake family around. Anya is excited to meet her uncle, but she's already asleep by the time he arrives. Yuri has an oddly close relationship with his sister, believing he's the only one entitled to help her with her life. Learning about Yor's marriage without his knowledge makes him suspicious of Loid. However, as the night progresses, Yuri sees Loid as a near-perfect husband, which he can't stand. As they all get drunk, Loid manages to ask Yuri about his job. Despite Yuri's attempts to conceal his identity, Loid's suspicions are aroused, having gathered information about him. Frankie's investigation reveals that Yuri works for the counterintelligence agency of Ostania. Loid makes mental calculations, and as Yuri becomes increasingly drunk, he challenges Yor and Loid to kiss if they are truly husband and wife. Yor gets embarrassed as she hasn't kissed anybody before, but Loid goes in like a champ. Yor takes some wine to get into the mood and pins down Loid on the sofa and is about to deliver a wild kiss when Yuri interrupts them. He is strangely possessive of his sister. Sweet Home Alabama? Anyhow, Yor doesn't like her romantic moment get interrupted and sends Yuri flying across the room. Yuri is a bit too jealous of Loid and leaves immediately. The next day, when Yuri returns to his office, he believes that Loid is a good guy, but also knows that spies often act like good guys. Suddenly, he realizes that he had forgotten to plant the bug in their house. Loid starts getting a bit suspicious of Yor as well. Being a spy himself, he couldn't trust anyone, not even his own fake wife. He becomes a bit distant from Yor, and she immediately notices the difference. However, she doesn't really know the reason her fake husband is distant and believes that she is somehow not worthy of being his wife. This troubles her the whole day. As she returns home from work, she is suddenly apprehended by agents of the counterintelligence agency. They start interrogating her about her brother and her husband. Yor boldly protects both her husband and her brother, and soon enough, the agents let her go. The agents were actually Frankie and Loid, who had come to test Yor if she knew anything about her brother. Thankfully, she was oblivious, and Loid can once again become normal with his family. They have a nice family evening in their home. When Anya returns to school, she finds out about a dodgeball tournament where the MVP is supposed to win a Stella. In addition, Damien and his team work hard to get the MVP rank at least hard enough for a toddler. When Anya tells her mother about the Stella contest, Yor takes it upon herself to train Anya for the competition. She takes her to a park and teaches her the secret art of dodgeball and also trains her to the core. The day of the competition arrives, and Anya and Damien are on the same team. They decide to cooperate to win the match. However, Damien has plans to become the MVP so he can earn a Stella and get noticed by his pops. Henderson serves as the referee as the dodgeball match gets underway. Although Damien seems confident in his abilities to win, a boy named Bill is a commanding presence on the other team. Yeah, that's a 7-year-old. Seems like Captain America serum really exists. With his strong shots, Bill, a somewhat uncommon 7-year-old, dominates the game with his calculated shots. Each of his shot is calculated to the minute details, and soon he leaves the other team without a player. In the end, there's just Damien and Anya. Bill's strikes are all avoided by Anya since she can read his movements, but when she falters, Damien comes in front of her and saves her from a knockout. Young love at its finest. With Damien out of the picture, Anya remembers her mother's advice, gathers herself, takes a position, and then utterly botches the shot, losing the match right away. Bill won MVP honors because he defeated the entire opposing team by himself. But it turns out that the Stella Award is only a rumor, and he gets a warning for using the die during the match. Henderson contemplates giving Anya's team a Stella for their extraordinary efforts and teamwork, but they start bickering, and he takes back his decision. After a few more days, Anya scores failing grades on every test, as one might expect. She cheats in every test, just from the wrong people, and hence fails the tests. She intends to find out in the future who is the best at what subject. Disturbed by his daughter's shortcomings, Loid thinks about utilizing his power to get her all A's. But he fears that her friends would become suspicious of her for this. Loid tells himself that there are other ways to become a Stella, in spite of his worries. Maybe he could inspire Anya to learn a new talent like music. Regretfully, his daughter is not particularly bright and exhibits little ability in every department. Loid brings Anya to a nearby hospital after realizing that even volunteering could get her a Stella Award. Anya's attempts at volunteering, nevertheless, are failures. She consistently makes simple chores difficult, which gets them kicked out of the hospital. Anya's telepathy detects the cries of an injured youngster, who is stuck in the hospital's rehabilitation pool as they are leaving. She rushes to the boy's rescue to keep her powers a secret, even though she first thinks about telling her father. Anya finds herself in jeopardy as she attempts to help the drowning youngster, with Loid trailing closely after. Loid saves them both by stepping in just in time. As word of Anya's bravery spreads, she eventually becomes the youngest person to earn a Stella Award. She becomes famous in the school and walks around with pride. Anya's wish to become friends with Damien and help her father with the mission is complicated as he starts to distance himself from her. Through her telepathy, she learns about Damien's affection for his dog, Max, and resolves to obtain a dog in order to be nearer to him. Anya asks her father to get her a nice dog that evening. Loid assumes the identity of an elderly man in order to update Handler on the mission's status. The handler tells him that they are not in a hurry to complete the main objective, but suggests that Loid focuses on a few minor tasks since the forces in Ostania were preparing something important. Loid was forced to manage many operations in addition to his primary assignment because certain spies were just removed from Ostania. After a long and exhausting day, Loid comes home to hear his neighbors chatting about him and believing that he is having an affair because he hasn't been going on family vacations. Loid discovers that while concentrating on other assignments, he has disregarded his cover as a family guy. Even though he still has other missions to finish, he quickly returns to his family and announces they will have a family weekend the following week. By the weekend, Loid has clearly lost strength and is hardly the same person he once was. Anya and Yor offer to scrap their plans, but Loid is adamant that they visit the local aquarium in order to keep their family's image normal. While traveling, Loid receives a summons to duty regarding a different operation that coincidentally involves the aquarium they are visiting. Loid is reluctant, but the assignment is critical. It involves a chemical weapon. He agrees grudgingly. The task involves taking a capsule with the weapon's blueprints out of a smuggled penguin. Yor extends an invitation to Loid's neighbors to join their family outing at the aquarium when they happen to be there at the same time. In an attempt to find the capsule, Loid shrewdly recommends going to see the penguins. But after finding a large colony of penguins, Loid starts to get suspicious. Anya uses her ability to sense her father's thoughts to recognize the penguin holding the capsule and subtly gestures for him to see it. In his disguise as an aquarium employee, Loid goes in search of the capsule, but instead comes into a terrorist trying to take the penguin. Terrorist runs away from Loid and Anya pretends to be in danger in order to help her father, which prompts Yor to intervene and take out the terrorist. Loid eventually succeeds in retrieving the capsule, even obtaining Anya a plush penguin as a memento. The peace is restored, and the neighbors' suspicions are alleviated as well. They return to their home and play a game of spy to make Anya happy.